Hello. So I am going to be making a recipe that belongs, it was my grandma's recipe, and it is what she called a Texas jambalaya. Now, it's not jambalaya that I was at. I didn't even realize there was a different kind of jambalaya because this is the one I grew up with. But it just has rice and it has ground beef and it's everything that you usually just kind of have on hand in your kitchen. And that's the thing that's cool about this recipe, because it's really easy to sub some things out. If you don't have white onions, you have a red onion or whatever, it's really easy to sub things out. You could do ground chicken versus ground beef. You could use rice. You could probably get away with some other different grains as well, even probably quinoa. It might be a little bit more difficult. You might need to make that separately and mix it in. So there's lots of ways to make this recipe, but it's super easy and it's a family favorite in our house. So I started with, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to tilt this down so you can see. So I started with our stack cooker, okay? And so all I did was I browned our ground beef in the stack cooker. And one of the benefits, and I could do it in the pan, but it's gonna have many more health benefits to do it here in our stack cooker because as you see, I have it in the colander. The middle section is a colander. And this is everything that came out of it, right? So this is all the stuff it would have cooked in. You see the fat, and this meat actually was very lean meat, so it doesn't have a ton of fat. If you have more like an 80-20, oh my gosh, you're gonna be like, what? There's just so much grease, right? So this is a pretty lean meat, but you see all that stuff that came out, and this is also organic meat, and still the amount of stuff that came out, right? How did you grind it up? Okay, so I bought ground beef, but you can, we have a meat grinder in Tupperware, a mincer, and you can use that, right, to just ground fresh meat. But when you use ground beef, I just put it in there. I pulled it out of the freezer. I let it thaw on the counter for a little bit. I put it in here, and then I put it in the microwave for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes. I pulled it out, and I took my spoon, right? I took my spoon, and I just kind of pushed it around a little bit, right? And I just kind of broke it up. You're doing the same thing you would do if you had it on the stovetop, right? You would be stirring it and breaking it up and just kind of stir, and then walking away, coming back, stirring it, breaking up. You're doing the same thing in the microwave. So you put it in the microwave for a couple minutes, pull it out, stir it, break it up, put it back in the microwave, come over, pull it back out, stir it, break it up, and it ends up being just like this, right? Now, and look at that. I mean, it looks like it's all crumbly. So it doesn't like clump up and make big balls. Like that's kind of what you expect to happen when you do it in the microwave, but that's not what happens at all. So this was just straight out of the microwave. So I'm gonna go ahead and first I'm gonna add this to the pot in just a minute, but I'm gonna do some onions first. So I have my onions here, and I just had yellow onions on hand, some big jumbo onions. So I'm going to put them right here in our chopper. And I love the chopper, especially for onions, because I just get so teary-eyed. I don't know about y'all. I get so teary-eyed cutting my onions. And so our chopper is really great for that. And you'll see how quickly it works. It's a pull string chopper, right? And it has rubber base, so it'll kind of sit still. It'll hold on to the counter. And it's not lined up, so hold, please. All right, I got to make sure it's on there. All right, and then you just pull. You see that? Look at that. How quickly I chopped that onion. Amazing. I love it. All right. And so I just kind of rough chopped it because I don't mind if there are big onion chunks in there. I love onion, honestly. All right. So, so we have our onion in there, and I'm going to go ahead and turn this burner on. I'm going to add just a little bit of oil. You can add olive oil, whatever it is that you like. I use avocado oil a lot. Because I just like it. It has such a buttery consistency and adds that to it. And I love that about it. And it doesn't, the avocado oil I use doesn't have a lot of flavor. Now you can get some with a lot of flavor if you like that. But I just kind of like to keep it simple. Now this is one of our Chef Series pans, all right? And the thing that's kind of cool about Tupperware is they have exclusive products. This at one point was in our line, and now it comes back sometimes as an exclusive gift or an exclusive buy for consultants. And I love that you can kind of earn or whatever these type of awards. And so this is one of my favorite pans. It's a nice big one. It's shallow, so it's like a big nice casserole. I think they call it saute pan, right? But I love this pan. And so that's one of the benefits sometimes of being a consultant, is that we do have like exclusive buys that we can get. And then also you can also have like this sack cooker is on sale. So we also have exclusive pricing, and sometimes it's pre-pricing before the sale, like our modular mates, which Loretta's going to talk about. But that's definitely one of the benefits. All right, so I have that kind of going a little bit, and the peppers I'm just gonna wait, because the peppers I'm gonna add them later. You're gonna see how easy this is. You're gonna be like, what? A lot of the recipes I cook are super easy because I actually really enjoy cooking for the family. But sometimes you just get a little bit burnt out, right? And I'm sure some of you, maybe you don't cook that regularly for your family, and you've been having to cook more and more, and maybe you are burnt out and you just want some new recipes. So this is a great way to get some new recipes, is by coming on our cooking shows, right? So I have the ground beef in there, and the onion's gonna start going, all right? And you can use any color onion that you like. Growing up, we always use green onions. I actually like the flavors of the red, orange, and yellow onions a little bit better. So that's why I'm using that. And that's usually what I have on hand. I don't really have green onions on hand very often, but you can certainly use them. I mean, green peppers. I keep saying onions. Peppers. All right. And so I have that going. And with your peppers, just a little tip that we learned at one of our trainings, is that peppers are male and female, and the female one has 4 or more bumps on the bottom, and that means it's sweeter, right? Because we're sweeter. So if you like your onions nice, I mean, gosh, I keep saying onions, your peppers nice and sweet, you want to go with the ones with the more bumps on the bottom, all right? Those are the female, all right? So I have this going. It's starting to kind of saute up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add rice, and I'm going to put 2 scoops of rice in there. So that's like 2 cups of rice. So I'm going to put those right in there. And I just leave this, I love my modular mates, and I just leave measuring cups in some of the ones that I do scooping all the time, and do that just because it's easy. And I'm all about ease of use and conveniences, right? Especially, you know, with kids and running around. I have 2 teenagers and a 7-year-old that keep me very, very busy. And then of course I have a Tupperware business, and I've been in the business about 13-ish years. And it has just been remarkable. When I came to the business years and years ago, it's when unemployment was so high and gas prices were just sky high. And let me tell you, this business was a lifeline for me. One, my kids were 2 and 3, and I was going stir crazy. So it was nice to get out and meet people, that are above 3 feet tall. And then the other thing was just, we were really struggling financially, and it was just such a blessing to be able to control my schedule, be able to be there for the kids, but yet also still be able to contribute to the family. It takes some of that pressure off of my husband. That was huge for us. All right, so I added the rice. I put 2 cups of rice in there, and now you have tomato soup. So growing up, we always just use Campbell's soup. I have celiac, so I'm gluten-free now. So it has gluten in it. So I have to go with something more like this that is gluten-free. And so there are ways that you can make so many meals gluten-free. You just got to read the ingredients and just triple check ingredients. So if you have somebody, a loved one that you're cooking for, that does have celiac, there's still a way that you can cook for them and cook some of your favorite recipes. All right, I'm going to put about half of this in there, so that it's usually about 2 cans of that concentrate, maybe 1.5 cans. And I just kind of eyeball it. I know that nobody likes to hear that, but I do just kind of eyeball it. But if I was doing this, right? So if I was doing this, I'm doing a double batch now because my kids are going to eat this like crazy. And so if I was doing it, I would have 1 can of Campbell's soup. I would have 1 pound of ground beef, 1 cup of rice. I would have an onion that I would chop, and I would have a pepper. This is actually about half a pepper. I don't put a full pepper in, and I leave them big like this because my kids want to pick them out, and that's fine. I picked them out when I was little too. All right, so then I'm going to go ahead and add about 2 cups of water to this. And sometimes as it kind of simmers and as it's kind of starting to, the rice is starting to cook and all that good stuff, I will go ahead and add more water because sometimes it'll start to stick to the bottom, right? And so I just kind of keep coming over and I stir it. I just let it simmer covered. And I come over and I just kind of stir it a little bit. I'm going to put these peppers in. Yum. Yum, yum. And these are going to cook down and they're going to be so tasty. And even if you don't like peppers and you take them out, it still adds so much flavor to put them in. And so you can go kind of like adding pepperoni to something, right? Maybe you don't want to eat the pepperoni, but the pepperoni still flavors a bit, right? So I'm going to add some salt. All right. And then also the spices I'm going to add basil. All right. I love to buy my spices in bulk. You can go to like mustard seed or, you know, some of the Amish stores. And this is oregano. And you can buy them in bulk. And with our spice containers that are actually on sale right now, you will love the conveniences of that. All right. So, and I probably added about a tablespoon for my double batch. So it would be about a teaspoon for the regular recipe. And it's crazy, but that's it. That's all that's going into this dish. And then I'm just going to let it simmer. I'm just going to cover it and I'm going to let it simmer for a bit while we're on here. And it might probably be done by time we're done with the party. So I hope that you enjoy that. And I hope this is something that you'll be able to make at home. Like I said, these are a lot of ingredients that so many people just have in their cupboards, right? Rice. A lot of times you have ground beef in the freezer. A lot of times you have some form of a pepper, and you can leave the pepper out if you want, right? It's just, but even if you don't like pepper, it will add some flavor to it. So it makes it nice. Most people have an onion sitting around, right? And so see, and all these spices, these are just like, you know, spices that everybody has, their staples, right? Everybody has in their home. So, so a nice, quick, easy recipe that heats over so beautifully. Like all the flavors get even better with time. And so it's such a great recipe. I think you guys are going to love it. And I think your families are going to love it too. So yeah, so you can see it just kind of simmering and the rice is plumped up. And so you're just cooking it till the rice is done. And so so just, you know, if your water simmers out and the rice is still a little al dente, just add a little bit more water, stir it up, put the top back on. But yeah, it smells so good. And I just went up and put James to bed just a second ago. And this is one of his favorite meals. And I was like, guess what? I'm like, I'll have jambalaya for you tomorrow when you get home from school. And he's like, yes. So perfect meal for the family.